So welcome everybody. And today's talk is on cloud. So let's begin with our prayer. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Come, Holy Spirit, enlighten our hearts to see the things that are of God. Come, Holy Spirit, into our minds, that we may know the things that are of God. Come, Holy Spirit, into our souls, that we belong only to God. Sanctify all that we think, say, and do, that all will be for the glory of God. Amen. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Okay, I have written down all these passages down on the two sheets because I lost my Bible. And I've been praying for help. I need to find my Bible because it has everything in it. And yeah, I don't know where, but
Is your name in it?
my name is in it.
Oh, good.
You know, I hope. I don't know. I really don't know. Yeah, I think there's a beginning section. But so everything is here, so we're not going to look up anything. It's all written down for you. Okay? We're starting off with, okay, first off, clouds. What are clouds? We see clouds all the time, and every time it says cloud in the Bible, for some strange reason, that's what we picture, right? We picture a cloud. And when we see statues or pictures of Jesus coming on the clouds, they're the same clouds as we see outside, right? That's the clouds. And we have a statue of Our Lady of Fatima in the church upstairs, and there's this big billowing cloud underneath her, right? With the Assumption of the Blessed Virgin Mary. Everything takes place around clouds, and all the angels are up there among the clouds. But today we're going to talk about a different type of cloud, okay? And this is a very special cloud, and our understanding of this cloud unfolds as we travel through the Bible. Okay, so the very first time we hear about it is in the Exodus story, the story of Exodus. And how many of you here have seen the movie The Ten Commandments? Okay, that might help you. Okay, it might help you because there is a scene when Moses is leading all the people out of Egypt. Okay, and he's about to go into the Promised Land. If you remember, the horses and the charioteers, they're all following behind. And there's this big, huge, ugly-looking graphic. It didn't work at those times. I think today, if they did it on TV, it would look so much better. But it just looks really fake. It looks like a cartoon in the middle of a movie, right? Yeah. And that's what we're actually talking about today. So let me read this first passage, Exodus 14. The angel of God, who had been leading Israel's camp, now moved and went out around behind them. The column of cloud also, leaving the front, took up its place behind them, so that it came between the camp of the Egyptians and that of Israel. But the cloud now became dark, and thus the night passed without the rival camps coming any closer together all night long. Then Moses stretched out his hand over the sea, and the Lord swept the sea with a strong east wind throughout the night, and so turned it into dry land. When the water was thus divided, the Israelites marched into the midst of the sea on dry land, with the water like a wall to their right and to their left. Okay? How many of you knew that an angel and a cloud were leading the people, showing Moses where to go? You can imagine their surprise when they were led right up to the Red Sea. And then they're thinking, we thought we were following the angel who should know where they're going, right? And this cloud, right? But it's interesting, we never think of that. For some reason we forget what happened. And the movie doesn't do a perfect job depicting that. But do you remember that big, huge, it looks almost like a tornado, but it's made out of fire. On the inside is fire, and on the outside is smoke. That kind of creates this cloud look, okay? That's what we're talking about. This was leading them to the Red Sea, and now took up its place between the two camps, the Israelites and the Egyptians. Okay, so we've got this cloud, this pillar or column of cloud. It's not an ordinary cloud. Okay, let's go on. This next passage is continuing exactly from where we left off. The Egyptians followed in pursuit. All Pharaoh's horses and chariots and charioteers went after them right into the midst of the sea. In the night watch, just before dawn, the Lord cast through the column of the fiery cloud upon the Egyptian force a glance. Okay, the Lord cast a glance that threw it into panic, and he so clogged their chariot wheels that they could hardly drive. With that, the Egyptians sounded the retreat before Israel, because the Lord was fighting for them against the Egyptians. So now we find out a little bit more. In the first passage there, we only learned that it was a column of cloud. Now we learn that it's a fiery cloud. Okay? You see how that changes? Not only is it a fiery cloud, but who is in the cloud? God, the Lord. Because from within the cloud, he casts a glance that freaks out the Egyptians. Okay? That's what it says in this modern translation. Panic. Panic, yes. Okay, so it also says that the Lord was fighting for them. Okay, so he's fighting through this cloud. Make sense? Now, he keeps leading them. They get across on the dry land. They're in the desert now, right? They're traveling through the desert. And they're pretty safe from the Egyptians. There's a sea between them. They're okay. Now they're in the desert. And they're heading somewhere. They're heading to the mountain. Do you remember which mountain?
Sinai?
Mount Sinai. Yeah. Mount Horeb also. It's the same place. Okay? This is the holy mountain. And what happened on this mountain first? Do you remember how Moses was first called by God? What he first saw? The burning bush. Remember that? Okay, so now he's going back up to the same mountain. And this is what God says to them before he goes to the mountain. He's led the people there. They're at the foot of the mountain. And God says, I am coming to you in a dense cloud. Exodus 19:9. Right? I'm coming to you in a dense cloud. And then, 19:16. Okay. On the morning of the third day, there were peals of thunder and lightning, and a heavy cloud over the mountain, and a very loud trumpet blast, so that all the people in the camp trembled. But Moses led the people out of the camp to meet God, and they stationed themselves at the foot of the mountain. Mount Sinai was all wrapped in smoke, for the Lord came down upon it in fire. The smoke rose from it as though from a furnace, and the whole mountain trembled violently. So it says that this cloud, right, a heavy cloud, came down over the mountain, and it describes this cloud as wrapped in smoke, right? The Mount Sinai was all wrapped in smoke, for the Lord came down upon it in fire. So the whole mountain is embraced in this fire, and smoke is billowing forth from the fire. It's an amazing sight. And as if from a furnace, and the whole mountain is shaking. Okay? This is the same type of fire that we're talking about. The cloud, the pillar of cloud that was leading them, has now expanded and grown and has embraced the entire mountain. Can you imagine? That would be so freaky. Okay? That would be so cool. When he's up there, okay, because what happened, let me just fill you in real quick. This is on the third day, and all of the people are supposed to go up, and they're supposed to see God face to face. But first of all, they were supposed to have prepared themselves for 3 days. 3 days of fasting and prayer, and not to have any, not to commit any sin, and not to have any sexual relations, and to keep themselves pure, and to do all these things, right? And what do you think? Did the people do it or not?
No.
No. Okay, they failed. They failed. And so they see God is there. They see all these manifestations, thunder and lightning, the clouds there, the fires there, the smoke, the trembling, mountain. And they say, you know what, Moses? you go on. We'll stay here,
You're okay.
and you go up on our behalf, okay? You go there, and you go talk to God, and whatever he tells you, we'll do. Okay. God says okay to that too. Moses goes up. They talk. God gives him the 10 Commandments, verbally. Okay, the word of the Lord. He gives him the 10 Commandments. And then Moses comes down, right? This is not what you're thinking yet. There's no golden calf yet. Okay? He comes down and he says to the people, what do you think? These are the 10 Commandments. And they say, yes, we'll agree to that. And then they take the blood. Remember that? We talked about that some other time. He uses the blood and he pours half on the people and half on the altar. And they make their covenant. They establish their covenant. And then this is what happens. Now Exodus 24, verse 12 and then 15. The Lord said to Moses, come up to me on the mountain, and while you are there, I will give you the stone tablets on which I have written the commandments intended for their instruction. So this is the second time Moses is going up now. You got that? First time he just got the verbal commandments. Now they're going to be written in stone. Okay? So after Moses had gone up, a cloud covered the mountain. The glory of the Lord settled upon Mount Sinai. The cloud covered it for 6 days, and on the 7th day, he called to Moses from the midst of the cloud. So God is speaking from within the cloud. Isn't this amazing? To the Israelites, the glory of the Lord was seen as a consuming fire on the mountaintop. But Moses passed into the midst of the cloud as he went up on the mountain, and there he stayed for 40 days and 40 nights. Okay. So many amazing things have taken place here. First off, now the cloud is called something. It's given a name by the Israelites. They understand this cloud to be no ordinary cloud. This is the glory of the Lord. Do you see how they've equated that? It says a cloud covered the mountain. The glory of the Lord settled upon Mount Sinai. It's one and the same thing. Okay? And that is why if you're ever going to study this further and you want to look it up, what is the glory of the Lord? The Israelites would have identified it as the Shekinah glory cloud. Okay? Shekinah glory, that's why I wrote that in there. In italics is all the other stuff. It's not straight from the Bible. Okay? So, Moses, now remember that burning bush? What happened to the bush? It never burned. It was not consumed, right? It was completely on fire, but it was never hurt. In the same way, it says, the glory of the Lord was seen as a consuming fire, seen that way, but who walks into it? Moses walks into the midst of this cloud. He walks into this fire. Imagine. But he walks out again, right? Unscathed. So this is the same fire of the Lord. This is the presence of God, the glory cloud, the Shekinah glory cloud, that Moses has entered into the presence of the Lord. And physically, everyone could see it. All the Israelites could watch that happen. Right? Have you ever heard of this before?
No.
Isn't it strange that we read this every single, year, so many times over and over, and how many references until we, single out the word cloud. We don't realize how often cloud is actually used in these stories, right? But that's why we're doing this. That's why it's fun. Oh, I don't have a sheet here. Who's got an extra sheet? Father does. Good. Sorry. Okay, let's go on. Exodus 33. As Moses, now this is afterwards, they've gotten the 10 Commandments. Okay, let me fill you in again. He's got the stone tablets. He comes down, and what does he see this time? Now you know the story, right? Now we have the golden calf.